Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
So the government is going to bail out RTE, which means you are bailing out RTE, the taxpayer. We are bailing out RTE. And I want to know what you think of that. Clearly some of you are not impressed with the national broadcaster, but if we don't bail them out, they're toast. They really are. So do we need them? What would Ireland look like without RTE? Now, let's be clear. There are countries in the world that don't have a national broadcaster. There are countries that do. The most famous national broadcaster in the world is the BBC. Of course, they have the BBC World Service as well. But then you got a much bigger population paying for the BBC, so you have a much better well, you could argue the BBC is not what it used to be. But here's the thing anyway. RTE, do we need it? Do we need a national broadcaster? Now, before you all, it's going to be easy for me to get 100 calls on the air going, they're shite, get rid of them, right? And that's really easy radio if we do that. But let's be fair, all right? Primetime Investigates. It's a good programme. It's brought about a lot of change. We've seen some of the disasters that happened in this country, for example, in care homes, in creches. All those things were exposed. The Women of Honour, all the different things that have been exposed. 6-1 News, whether you like it or whether you don't. I personally would never watch it, but some people do, and they trust it. Sports. They do have good sports coverage, but for the stuff they have the rights for, they have good sports coverage that you won't see anywhere else. They do public service programming for people, for farmers, for example. Stuff that wouldn't be viable, say, for a private company to do because you just wouldn't make money out of doing it. But it's public service broadcasting. So, without all of that, and without RTE, you wouldn't have all of that. Broadcasting in the Irish language doesn't appeal to me. I wouldn't listen to it. Very few people do listen to it. But in saying that, it's there. It's part of our heritage. It's not financially viable. It loses millions. Tina G, Radon na Gaeltacht, they lose a lot of money. But they're public service. They're there for people who want it. And we are Irish, after all. So without the money and the bailout money, none of that will happen. Also, the staff in RTE, thousands of people work there. If they're not bailed out, people will lose their jobs. So look at the bigger picture before you jump in and go, it's shite, Niall. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you believe we need a national broadcaster? Let me know you think. The number's 087 188 0008. Sorry, just wanted to balance out the old argument there. Martin, how are you doing?
Good evening, Niall. I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Martin, I just tried to, not that I believe all of that, but I just wanted to balance out the argument a bit if I could,
No, I do believe that, actually. It is very credible. But it's not just to have a public service broadcaster. I mean, China has a public service broadcaster, so is Korea.
Mm-hmm.
You need a good public service broadcaster who is there to service the public, not the politicians and the groups that are controlling things. And I personally, that's what I believe happens at the moment. We've had this discussion a couple of times now, and we can go back over all kinds of things, the referendums on changing the constitution, all kinds of things where there wasn't a balanced debate.
Quite one-sided, yes.
I would have, listen, as I said, Niall, in the past, I don't have a television, and I don't have a television for exactly those reasons. So as a non-TV owner, there's no way would I pay any kind of a charge if it was to be brought in for, a media charge or whatever else. I would fight it tooth and nail because I don't take advantage of that. I don't use RTE. I don't look at RTE. I've no interest in it. I don't look at any other stations either because I don't regard any of them as being particularly important to me. But I think...
Well, you don't pay for this radio station. You know what I mean? You don't have to.
No, and that's precisely the point. I don't have to pay for this radio station, but I reckon that it's well worth my time to listen. Now, I mean, I do when I get the opportunity to listen during the day, particularly if I'm on a journey, traveling halfway across the country or whatever, and I end up listening to it on the internet because, unfortunately, it's not a national broadcaster. That's unfortunate, but...
Well, we cover 70% of the country. We're multi-city.
Yeah, but a lot of the areas I'd be going into would be, Anyway.
Martin, are you on a speakerphone or something at the moment?
I'm on the car phone. I can pick up.
If you can pick it up, that'll be great. Just we get a bit of an echo back.
Yeah. Okay, just bear with me for a moment.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, is that any better?
That's much better, yes. It's just I was getting the echo back. So Martin, okay, give me the reasons why people, or why we should have a national broadcaster, and give me reasons why we shouldn't, if you can.
Well, as I was saying, we should have a national broadcaster, and I would absolutely support a national broadcaster if it's a good national broadcaster that actually services the public. But if it comes to the point where you don't have a good national broadcast service, I'd rather have no national broadcast service than a bad one that I'm paying for to listen to propaganda. And that's what I think we have at the moment.
And and by the way, I'm not going to completely disagree with you, but you have to balance that out with a lot of the stuff that RTE do is not financially viable for anybody else to do privately, but it does service a community like farming. A lot of the sport. Some of the sport, by the way, is not financially viable, but it services a community. Irish language, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I take all that on board. But, I'm trying to learn Irish at the moment. I'm subscribed to a service that, every day I get a clip of how to have a conversation. If I wanted to watch sports, which, as I said in my last text to you, I guarantee you I know less about soccer than you do. I have no interest.
I don't think anybody knows less about soccer than I do.
Well, maybe if we meet someday, we can compare.
And can I just say to my father, wherever he is, because he died some 7 years ago, I'm sure he's ashamed of me because my father was secretary of the FAI. So you'd imagine I'd know something, wouldn't you?
And when it comes to sport, I have to be honest. When it comes to sport, if it's not on a GAA pitch, I'm not really interested. But I get more enjoyment out of watching, kids have a puck around than I would out of watching, an intercounty match on the television. Really, if I really want to see a match, I'd go to wherever it's being played. But I accept what you say about things like Today Tonight and the programs, going back 7 days, all those things. RTE at one time, in my opinion, was one of the premier broadcasters in the world. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. In my opinion, they really were. We had things like Strumpet City, fantastic productions, absolutely fantastic productions that really were value for money. Now, the vast majority of what's presented by RTE are imports from America or wherever else. They're, in my opinion, and I'm only giving my opinion, they're junk. They do nothing to engage the brain. It's just, to me, it's ocular chewing gum. It's chewing gum for the eyes. It passes time and people don't realise the amount.
But they've had a few. In the last 15 years, they've had a few good productions like Raw, Love Hate, Kin. They were all good productions.
Well, I'll have to. I did see one or two episodes of Love Hate. The rest of them.
Kin, which was the second season, was on more recently. I loved it.
I have to plead ignorance now. I've never seen it.
Okay, but it was kind of based on the Kinahans,
Yeah, okay.
Loosely.
But, is that being put out just for entertainment? I would much rather see money being spent on, and I know it has been done. I haven't actually seen them, but I know it has been done. There have been documentaries on crime families in this country and what have you. But look, some of the stuff they put out, I've no doubt, is good. I'm not denying that. I'm sure there are some very dedicated people. But when you consider the amount of money that goes into that organisation and the things that have come out lately, I just think I would absolutely support RTE or any other national broadcaster. I'd have a television and I would pay more than the licence fee if I thought I was getting not just value for money, but something that was contributing really to building a more valuable and moral society, which I really don't believe RTE do at the moment. From what I've seen, and I do when I'm in a relative's house or I'm over at my mother's and something comes on the television, I'll see it, but I don't really get engaged in it because it's just not for me. Mm-hmm. Now I know I'm in a minority, and I accept that.
No,
But lots of people-
you're not. Well, you're not in the minority. The country is kind of divided when it comes to their opinion on RTE. Actually, stay there. Let me just go to Connor as well. He's been waiting a while. Connor, hi. How are you?
Grant.
Connor, do you believe we should be bailing out RTE? If we don't bail them out, as I said earlier on, they're toast. Would you believe we should be bailing them out?
No. I think we just, and of course, Ryan has been totally scapegoated. But I mean, prime example was your man, that chief financial officer, not knowing his wages.
Not knowing his own way. Well, saying he didn't know his own wages. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And the other thing as well, people obviously heard this today, that all the CEOs and the top brass got a 10% pay increase last year. When RTE are losing millions, they give each other a pay increase. You know, you couldn't make that shit up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think, to be fair to Kevin Backhurst, the new DM, you know, maybe give him a chance. He's going to change all of that. He says he's going to change all of that culture.
Yeah, but the number one thing is to move the premises anyway. I mean, and
I
there's
couldn't
no
agree with you
need-
more, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know no majority of the presenters aren't exactly walking distance off the studios anyway. So should be fine for them, because that's some crime real estate there. Like, you know,
Oh, it's worth
so,
millions,
yeah.
billions actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if TV3 can do it from an industrial estate in Ballymount, so can they.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, couldn't agree
I
with you
mean,
more.
and and it's not exactly prime time stuff coming out from RTE anyway. So yeah,
Would you watch RTE at all, Connor? Do you watch anything on RTE?
RTE player. I looked at Kin. That's it.
Okay, well, I mentioned Kin there a few minutes ago. I actually loved Kin. I thought it was great.
Yep. That's it. And I did like love hating that, but yeah, in relation to everything else, no, it's kind of cringe. Particularly the Late Late Show. I mean, just at times they'd have American celebrities on. How much do you love us? You know, and it's just
But the rest of it's just raid the RTE canteen, really, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
It's the same people over and over again as guests.
Yeah. Plus, in fairness, use give a good run for their money radio-wise. Meaning, I think the standard the radio has gone absolutely plummeting down north. I mean, the drive time's absolutely painful to listen to, you know, and everything. So yeah.
Well, independent radio like us, we have to do what they do on 10% of the staff, less than 10% of the staff, to be honest with you, on probably 10% of the money. So, you know, it's not easy for independent radio to compete with RTE. And the same way, I'm sure, in independent radio in Britain competing with the BBC, it's not easy to compete because, for example, a show like this on RTE would have a team, like Joe Duffy, would probably have a team of 12 people.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to this show, and it's me and Jane.
Yeah, easy.
And Ryan is in helping us tonight there as well, too. But generally speaking, it's the two of us.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. I mean, just quality.
There'd be a walkout in RTE if that happened.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But I mean, no, just quality. Meaning they were going on for 15 minutes on drive time about this poor fella getting jailed for 22 years over in the US. I mean, it just
Who cares? You were thinking, who cares? Like,
yeah.
I can read that in the newspaper, lads. You're grand. Yeah. And do you? Okay. Well, here's the thing. Martin obviously believes that RTE is nothing but propaganda. And they're one-sided. Obviously, he believes they're liberal and there's no conservatism in there at all. There's no balance. Do you trust RTE News?
No, RTE News would have, of course, an agenda and would coincide, obviously, with what the government and what the big corporates want. I mean, I've never heard RTE mention the likes of, like, you know, just I'm sorry to be going back to America, but I mean, RTE have a mention your man RFK, who is who's like, you know, who's really like, you know,
Yeah, he's doing well for the Democrats at the moment. Yeah.
Absolutely, but I mean, and he is, when I was younger, there used to be pictures of the Pope and the Kennedys in Ireland. Why are RTE not mentioning anything about RFK? Meaning, it's nothing to do with the fact
It's because he's probably anti-vaccine. That's probably why.
Anti-big pharma. So,
Well, yeah.
Pfizer are a big employer here, and RTE know that. And even them massive protests that were going on in Holland there last year in the Netherlands, RTE didn't cover that. And meaning this is
So, and I do believe there's a conflict of interest when you have the government bailing you out constantly every single year, and you're going to them for money. How do I say it? You have to be nice to them, don't you?
Absolutely, but
So-
the fact they keep on going with the same narrative, they're scaremongering all during the summer about the wildfires in Greece. Meaning, my God, wildfires in Greece. When the lads were, the Spartans were fighting wildfires in Greece, we just cop onto ourselves, but they just roll in with the narrative and with the green agenda, but. Yeah.
Okay, so they're not giving anybody else an opportunity to disagree with that.
100%.
Okay. No, I get the point you're making. Okay, and even if you don't disagree, they should give people the opportunity to come on and to balance out every argument and give everybody a fair.
100%.
Yeah.
But with every referendum, I know yourself actually with referendums, I would have tuned into you actually rather than RTE because there was no balance in RTE. They were just Rottweilers out contradicting everything. Your man from Amnesty International would get a soft run all the time in RTE and would be in the background huffing and hawing and all this kind of stuff. As opposed to yourself interviewing opposing views, there'd be a good balance, not in RTE,
Okay, well, hang on, stay there for a second because Martin and Connor, let me just go to my good friend James. James, hi, how are you?
Nice. Great to hear your voice. What's going on?
How are you doing, James? James, would you, firstly, did you pay your television licence?
To be honest with you, I didn't.
Right, okay.
I didn't. To be honest with you, with RTE, I'll put it to you this way, right? If me and you had a business in the morning and year after year, the business is failing, right? We're buying in boxes of CDs there and nobody's buying CDs, right? Are you going to keep buying the CDs and keep putting yourself into debt and stuff like that?
No, but
The logic
no, hang on, James. In defence of RTE, right? In defence, the revenue from advertising has dropped considerably over the last 20 years, and every radio station feels that, okay? Because social media has taken a large chunk of that revenue now, and RTE provides stuff that we couldn't afford to provide because it would be loss-making stuff, and the reason they do that is because they're public service. So they are always going to lose money. There's no doubt of it. Now, they don't have to lose as much, but they're always going to lose money. They're not going to be ever profitable, that's for sure.
But Niall, I think I said it to you a couple of months ago about RTE, and we were on about it again a couple of months ago. And then it came out about Tuberty. Can you remember that? And we all knew about Tuberty anyway. The whole country knew about that anyway, but it came out publicly, yeah. Your man know that's running RTE. He was already working for RTE for a few years, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but he wasn't a director general then. He was only head of news.
He's close enough to it, Niall. He was sitting around the table, wasn't he? He knows what's going on. He knows the crack, the whole thing. None of us are stupid. You're not stupid. We know what's going on there. I think it needs to be a whole total overhaul by get them all out. It's as simple as that. It's the same with the government. Get them all out and start again.
But that's what he's saying he's going to do. Kevin Backhurst has said, you can see that he's already said he's going to drop all the wages for all the presenters. I'm sure they're not happy about that. He's dropping them all. There'll be no more paying 300,000 and 400,000 people, euro for.
A lot of people out there kind of don't have a problem with RTE. A lot of us like it. There's some good stuff on it. There's some bad stuff. It's like everything, yeah. But most RTE is tradition. It's part of the world, and I think we need RTE, whatever, blah blah blah, yeah. But the reason people are on about this now at the moment is because they're handing over another 35 million to RTE, I think, like that. And people are struggling. Normal people are struggling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you walk through any town, any place like that, now, right now, if you were with me now and we walk through where I am, I'm down in Cork, if you walk through the city centre down on Patrick Street, and you're going to see loads of homeless people and loads of people that are, and you'll see the soup kitchen and all that, they're every nice place and people, like every evening by I see it, there's 20 or 30 people queuing up there to get a bit of grub or whatever, like, this is the real problem, like, you know what I mean? But it's a lot of this is hidden. Then we come back to the working class. We're all working. Even though, like, I think nowadays, whether rich or you're poor, yeah, a person might be earning good bucks and all that, but it's not his money. It's only in one hand and out the other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're all working to live. We're not living to work. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? You know?
Yeah, no, I get you.
And now it comes back to this another simple point. We're all paying big taxes. You are, I am. The working man is being, you know yourself.
Screwed.
Are we not paying enough tax for RTE to be incorporated in this?
Okay, well, then here's the alternative. So, well, hang on, James. Here's the alternative. Yeah. So the government turn around and say, no, you're not getting the 35 million. Piss off. Work it out yourselves. RTE is doomed.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, it comes back to this, right? I don't think there's a shortage of money for anything. Like, why are we one of the worst countries in the world for the roads and things like that? Try down any road there, man. If any TD is listening, you know, you're on money, man. But the roads are a disgrace.
Oh, I know.
Whoever's fixing them, they want to come back and do that.
They need to go back and do a course on fixing roads. I know, I get you. No, I'm with you on everything you're saying, James. And in the big scheme of things, actually 35 million is not a lot of money. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but it's not. You know, when a country takes in 65 billion to 70 billion a year in revenue, it's not a huge amount of money. You know what I mean? But in saying that, it's still money they shouldn't have to pay because they have a television license and they also have advertising. Personally speaking, my opinion, I would keep RTE 1. I would sell RTE 2FM and I would sell RTE 2 to private investors. But I would keep RTE 1 and RTE 2, or RTE 1 radio and RTE 1 television.
You know, like, I'll put it this way, you know, I know they need to, they're going to be given the 35 million and give it some of it there, but why can't we give 35 million to our cancer patients and do all of these other things there?
No, I get you. That money should be going to those other people too. I mean, Martin, hang on, Martin, I made a suggestion there about RTE that, you know, I completely agree with keeping RT1 radio and RT1 television. Now, it would need an overhaul. I would like to see it run better, but I would drop 2FM. We don't need it. It's not public service. It's a youth station. We have a number of independent youth stations around the country. I'm sure some of them would like to buy it, so and make a bit of a profit out of it. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't be subsidising a pop station.
No, I absolutely agree. RTE1 TV and RTE1 radio, if it was fit for purpose, I'd say absolutely keep it. If not, get it right, trim the fat, you know, keep it, make it right for purpose. I mean, RTE did themselves no favour during this so-called pandemic. I mean, I know because I happen to be over with my mother, who's a very elderly lady, regularly on the weekends and particularly on Tuberty. You would have Professor Luke the Real, and I call him that because it's the same thing he said every time.
Well, he contradicted himself many times, by the way. Can I just point out?
Well, he did, but it was still the same thing. It was the same contradictions over and over. Yeah, this is wrong and that's wrong. But anyway, my point is that, you know, the money Tuberty was getting and that whole thing, that's just kind of the cream on top. That's just where people could actually see what was happening. They weren't aware, in my opinion, of the propaganda that was going on. They were being propagandized off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a public broadcaster's job to service the government. It's a public broadcaster's job to service the public, not the government.
It's also a public service broadcaster's job to challenge the government every now and again.
Absolutely. How often does that happen?
Rarely.
Lip service.
Rarely.
Lip service. I mean, if I...
But see, the problem I see is when you've got a media minister, Catherine Martin, you know, deciding how much she's going to give them. They've requested 35 million. There's a conflict of interest because if she does anything wrong, is she going to be on prime time tomorrow because she's the one deciding whether they get the money or not? Now, maybe that's just me being, you know, cynical. I don't know. But when you see that they're at the behest of the state, well, then they have to be careful what they do.
Yeah, and you don't. You're not at the behest of the state.
Well, I'm still at the behest of the BAI, the broadcast. Well, it's not called the BAI anymore.
No, exactly. But you're not at the behest of the state. The state are not paying. They're not paying your wages or anyone else in that station.
No,
and that's why. Like, if RTA was to be cut back radically, I don't believe that viewership or listenership would drop off the planet. People will just move to other things. So if people are given a choice, if the broadcasting, whether it be TV or radio, that people are engaging with, if they feel it's worth their time, even if they're not paying for it, if it's worth their time, advertisers will go with those stations that are successful, whether it be television or radio. I mean, we're supposed to live in a free market economy. So to me, I just look at RTE, and all I see in RTE is pretty much a bottomless pit for money. Nobody's held accountable. I mean, to this day, okay, Tuberty, yeah, he lost his job. If you could say he lost his job, you know, he'll move on to something else. He'll get in somewhere else. That's what I think. I really do.
He's in London. I mean, there's pictures all over the paper and videos. He's in London.
He's scoping opportunities.
Yeah. He's been on the Chris Evans show today in radio and in UK.
If he manages to get himself in with some with a private organisation, you know, a profit organisation, good luck to him. Let him get on with it, because then nobody's being forced by edict to pay his wages. So he'll sink or swim based on his own capability, on his own talents, and I have my opinion on that. But for me, if RTE has to be cut, and I mean cut radically, or even abolished, people won't stop watching television. They won't stop listening to radio. They will move to where they think they are getting what they want. Now, as you know, I listen primarily when I'm listening to radio. It's your own show at night, because I get the best balanced radio I have heard in decades. Sometimes I feel like kicking the radio because I hear things that infuriate me.
Good.
But it's good. Exactly.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
You know, that engages me. That keeps me engaged, because it makes me think, well, you know, am I applying critical thinking to my own opinion? And when I hear someone else's opinion, even if I don't contribute, I get a chance to say to myself, well, now, let me think about that. Now, there have been occasions about maybe I'm being a bit kind of radical in what I'm thinking, and I might need to rethink a little bit. And sometimes I have. Now, I've never shifted completely. I've never gone to a diametrically opposed position.
No, I'm the same. When I'm listening to callers at night, there's a lot of the people I completely disagree with. But I love hearing other people's views, and I tend to agree with you quite a lot, Martin. But there are times we've had a disagreement. But that fella Dave from Tipperary, when he comes on, I get really annoyed. Dave, hi, how are you?
Oh, that fat, over-opinionated wanker, that guy.
That's him.
Yeah.
So Dave, sink or swim? 35 million, are they down the tube? I mean, what do we do? Do we bail them out again?
Let them sink. Let them sink. If they've got any talent at all, they'll be able to pull the finger out of their holes and give some quality broadcasting on the merit of their own talent, we'll say. I mean, if you think about some of the best movies out there, particularly say come 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, were done on shoestring budgets. And the reason they were so popular and the reason they stood the test of time is because the stories were engaging. It's because the people who made them were like, right, we don't have the money to make a big box office movie, so we have to use the skills we have to tell a good enough story that'll catch people. You know, the problem with RTE is it's almost like the HSE in a sense that you're firing buckets of money at people. You know, everybody's gotten quite happy with the gravy train. Everybody's milking it for as much as they can, and they just got lazy. Like RT2.
But I've just given suggestions there where they could save millions. Sell 2FM. They don't need it. Sell RT television or television. What's it? RT2, because all it is repeats anyway. Private investors will buy that. It's a pop station. A private investor will buy that.
But see, even though you said that, RT2 is just
repeats.
It's just repeats. I remember RT2 before was way better than RT1. RT1 was the serious channel where you had the news and the Angelus and your prime times, and then RT2 is where you had the panel, the show PJ started on. You had Podge and Raj. Some of the best comedies I've ever seen were on RT2. You know, and they had some great broadcasts. The Den, for example. I mean, how long did that last for? Do you know what I mean? You had Echo Eye years ago. They used to do fantastic broadcasting for children. You know, but just they got lazy over time. But then again, you know, because we have more choice now. Once upon a time we had 8 stations. Now we have hundreds upon hundreds. And then you have streaming services. Do you know what I mean? So I can imagine it's hard to kind of, you know, fight against all that. But at the same time, if you made engaging programming for people they would watch it. RTE
I mean,
basically-
it's unfair to say there isn't engaging program. There is engaging programming on RTE by times. Not all of the time, but by times there is.
yeah, but it's usually when there's a scandal.
Well,
You know?
yes,
Like-
yeah.
Like the three things the RTE are good at: comedies, crime shows, and exposing scandals in this country.
Yeah, usually
I mean,
exposing themselves. By the way, can I just point out?
Yeah, you know, I can't. Really,
They did a
I
great
can't-
job on Tubridy Gate. They did the one.
Oh,
they
sure,
did-
hey, I mean, what? They got fucking 3 weeks out of that. Like,
They got
you know
more.
what I mean?
It
That
was
was,
only 2 months they got out of it, for God's sake.
was it 2 months?
Yeah.
That's how much I pay attention. Do you know?
Yeah.
And then decide, like, you know, there's desperation coming from them when they're like, okay, well, we're just going to get the revenue to collect the TV license, you know, because there's been such a drop in it. Like, no, I personally think, like, if there's, like, again, the top earners slash their wages. You know what I mean? And like, if they don't like it, let them go
Well, I
somewhere
think he is going to slash all their wages. There's nobody else going to get 350 grand or 400,000. Or what was Ray Darcy getting $500,000 there recently, up to a few years ago for the one shy TV show he did at the weekend and the radio show. He wasn't worth that much money. Nobody was. But in saying that, they are going to slash it, but they have to wait till their contract's finished.
Yeah, but because I can't.
Joe is a clever man. Joe Duffy just had re-signed a contract just before the whole scandal started.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. But like, you know what they say, like, oh, we're scared we're going to lose the talent. Like, first of all, what talent? Like, who's going to be knocking down Joe Duffy's door, trying to offer him a job? Do you know what I mean? Like, he knows.
Well, somebody News Talk might knock down his door looking for a job, but they're not going to offer him the same money that he's getting on RTE.
I don't know. I think they got Pat Kenny now. I think they're happy enough with that. You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine Joe Duffy making the.
Good afternoon and welcome to the News Talk Live. I mean,
Yeah, it just doesn't sound right. does
Mary,
it?
you're in
You know?
Clontarf. You're in the back of a taxi. What happened to you?
Yeah, no, I couldn't see it. No, I think they should let them sink. Because again, like what you said earlier on, like if they're getting money from the state, there's a vested interest there. So I mean, if there are scandals, you know, they might not, you know, let's say bite the hand that proverbially feeds them. You know,
Yeah.
like they should be doing more shows where they have politicians there, where people can talk to them. You know what I mean? Like we need them like a new Vincent Brown or something like that. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll do it. I'll do it if they let me.
Well, do you know what? I had an idea for. I think it'd be a fantastic reality TV show. We get politicians. There's some of the highest paid politicians, and we make them live the lives of a single mother, a person on disability, or someone on social welfare for a week or for a month.
Wonderful idea. I've thought about that before, but they would never do it. Let me tell you. Stay there for a second. Well, hang on. Let me go to Jerry Ann. James, I'll come to you in a second. Jerry Ann, hi. How are you?
Yeah, good night. Listen, just there about that suggestion. I remember years ago, Vincent Brown, he came into different areas and he was doing live programs in...
People's kitchens and stuff, wasn't it, I think?
No, it was... where I got involved was he booked this hotel in Malahide and he invited all the suspects,
Yeah.
TDs and all the rest. And of course, the ones who were as guilty as hell wouldn't turn up.
Yeah.
And I went along anyway, and I went up to the front row because I had something going on at the time. And he opened the thing before it was being recorded and said, look, we're going to talk about homelessness, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that. Anybody want to say anything? So, of course, I stuck my hand up because that's when I'd lost my home and I'd start renting and it was a nightmare. And anyway, he asked me to come on and talk. And when I put up my hand, he was encouraging me to put it up because when it started going live, I was a little bit shy. But then he was like pointing at me where the camera couldn't see him, obviously. So I mentioned about the new homelessness who I was at the time, who'd had a home, who'd worked all my life, blah, 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 blah. And I said I had one question for the panel. And my question was, do any of you know how much somebody renting in Malahide gets on? No, it wasn't the hat thing then, it was something else.
It was rent allowance in those days, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Not one of them knew the answer. And he turned around and said, oh, maybe they're not supposed to know. I said, sorry, Vincent, why don't they
No. Okay, but sorry, getting back, I mean, I have to say, I used to love Vincent Browne, although he did sound sometimes like he was drunk, even though he wasn't. Derry-Ann, in relation to RT itself, should we be bailing them out?
No, absolutely no. Because I'll tell you why. Over the years, I had a bit of involvement with them, with the Jerry Ryan show, with different stuff. I won't go into it. I did interviews on it. I did a load of stuff. One time, I'll tell you about an interview I did. And I have to tell you this for a reason, because this is part of why I say no. It was questions and answers.
Questions and answers, yeah.
Yeah, and I was going into the audience, and before we went into whatever, the green room, and they gave us a number of questions, and they asked us to write what our answers were.
I was there once. They give you a little card, and you put your question down on the card, yeah.
Right, so I did mine, and mine was picked, but what they did was they decided to give my question to a man and give me a question to the panel, who do I think was going to win the football at the weekend? Oh my God, was I furious with them.
Okay, so I know, all those stories leave a bad taste in your mouth, absolutely. But, if you don't pay, or if the government don't pay RTE, it will sink. But if it's been run the way it's been run at the moment, it'll sink.
No. I'll go back to what went on there the last couple of months. And my heart goes out to Ryan Tubridy, because I think this is just me. Can I voice my opinion on how he was let go?
Yeah. Oh, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it was disgusting, because he was quite within his rights to say what he said in that statement, because the tribunal, or whatever it was, said RTE were wrong in whatever they said about his payments. Okay, but what was going on in the background, there were certain people brought into that tribunal. I'm not going to mention their names, because I know what was going on at the time. And they refused point blank to go back. And these were directors of RTE at a time when there was money spent. That whole tribunal was never fully investigated. And I just hope somebody somewhere will go back and start bringing out the truth about that.
You know what, Derry-Ann, with the greatest respect, I don't think you will ever get all of the truth, because there was hardly anybody willing to tell the truth.
Well, no, but
they were all evading every single question. I mean, to be honest with you, don't get me wrong, I like Ryan Tubridy. I've met him on numerous occasions. He's a really nice guy. I'm very fond of him. But the one thing I will say is he could have taken some responsibility for basically getting a payment that nobody else kind of knew about, that he knew was coming from RTE, that it wasn't actually going to be coming from Renault at all, when other people that he was working with were taking pay cuts. He should have recognised that was a problem. So the one thing, I suppose, that the general public have a perception that there was greed involved. And all he had to do was take his job back if he wanted to, come back on the radio and apologise for his role and the perception of greed, if that was the case, that people had that, and apologise for that and move on. And he could have very easily done that if he wanted to.
But that's fair enough, Ryan. But in the background, there were people...
Oh, I know. But RTE have taken responsibility to some degree. Now, not enough, by the way. Other people, heads need to roll. More heads need to roll.
No, they haven't. And I tell you, I know for a fact, I can't actually say why I know, but I know for a fact that they let people away where they know it's...
Oh, I know. I'm well aware of that, Jerry. And I know people. Yeah, there's people in there. There's a lot of corruption in there. There's a lot of people who got payments that we still don't know about, and we'll never probably know about.
Well, some of us might know.
Golden handshakes were given to people and all sorts of things that we're all kind of nearly aware of at this stage. But anyway, the point again, getting back to the original question, Dave is saying don't give them a penny. You're saying don't give them a penny.
No. Look, if there's 115 acres or something out there in Donnybrook.
Yeah, sell it.
Sell it. Put them in we're TV3 or Virgin, whatever they're called now. No, I'm sorry.
That's the worst rebranding in history, can I point out? Nobody calls it Virgin Media. Everyone still calls it TV3.
I know.
They spend millions rebranding the station and nobody knows.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know why. It's like Twitter calling themselves X. I don't know why. They do these companies. But I do me a favour. Stay there, Jerry Allen. Stay there, Dave, as well, because I want to bring James in. He's waiting ages. James, hi.
How are you getting on?
How you doing, James? Nice to talk to you.
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm listening to this with interest because I was reading the Irish Independent subscription service this morning. And did you know that RTE have released their delayed annual accounts this afternoon?
Oh, right. I wasn't aware of that. There you go. I missed out on that one.
Interesting. This is very interesting because in 2020, they made a surplus of 8 million.
What?
Well,
yes.
You know the reason for that, don't you?
That's not the end of it. The surplus for the following year, 2022, is 2.4 million.
Because there was no live events. There was no live sporting events. There was no live coverage. There was no outside broadcast. That's why.
So how can you suddenly go from that to a deficit of this? Now, let me just show something else to you here. RTE gave its top executives a 10% pay increase.
I heard that
last September.
That's disgusting now.
So how much was our little beautiful person Dee Forbes getting out of all this?
Well, she got a pay increase last year when everybody else was taking pay cuts. She got a pay increase.
Her pay was increased by 10,000 to 316,000 punts per year.
Euro.
Now, is it any wonder that? Now, I think the Ryan Turbin thing, it's a red herring.
Yeah,
these people at the top, these executives at the top have been creaming this place for the last number of years.
Yeah,
but this guy has been brought in to sort it out. Why haven't they been let go?
Well, some of them have been let go, but they were given a golden handshake as they went out the door.
But
was that loyalty money or something like that? I don't know. What's that all about? Isn't that what they call it? A loyalty bonus or something?
How much is Classic Hits' loyalty bonus?
I'm waiting to find out. I sent in an email to my boss there last week. Surprisingly enough, I haven't heard anything back from him.
So his nine's up there behind.
I think I'd be showing the door if I asked for a loyalty bonus.
But
by the way, can I officially point out I am the longest member staff in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio?
Yeah, okay. He's putting in your chit now, are you, mate?
Yeah. Sorry, Jerry Ann, what are you trying to say?
I was just going to say, but if RTE have to, if the government bail them out, right, and they go on doing what they're doing, and believe me, they will go on with the top of
where's
the cream.
Where's the money going? The question is, where is the money going?
The top of the cream. They're getting it all.
This is 316. That's obscene.
But James, RTE loses money hand over fist. For example, they lose a massive amount of money on the Irish-speaking stations because they don't really have the serve. They lose a massive amount of money on outside broadcasts, live sporting events. All that kind of stuff costs massive amount of money, and a lot of it's not even viable. It's public service stuff. You know what I mean?
But no, they don't need to be doing that. Let somebody down the Gaeltacht set up something.
But nobody's going to do that.
Well, Classic Hits, if RTE have to go sell their land.
Classic Hits are not going to have a radio show in Irish. And I'll tell you why. Because if we did, we'd lose listeners. That's just the bottom line, sadly.
No, I don't mean do it in Irish. But as somebody said earlier, if RTE weren't there, nobody's going to stop listening to your show.
No, I know that. No, but what I'm saying to you is there's a lot of stuff, that we would like to do as a radio station, but we couldn't afford to do it. We wouldn't have the staff to do it. Now, RTE do that.
But look, the Irish people, rather than pay their licenses, including me, to RTE, would probably give you a percentage of it to get somebody else up off the ground to do something. Now, in fairness...
Well, there has been an argument for many years that the Broadcasting Authority, who have now changed into a more European agency, should have been distributing the licence fee to all of the independent sector as well.
Absolutely. Why is it just to them? And I hate saying this, but I'm sorry, because I've seen how they lick up to the arses of those in the Dáil, and that's what they do.
So, James, finally, just getting back to you again. Dave said no. Derry-Ann said no. Martin said no. The other James said no. Should they get the money?
No.
No, of course they shouldn't get it. How does a company, if you were running any sort of
Here,
company
here.
in any country, it wouldn't happen in Zimbabwe. You know, that a company goes from 2021 of a certain...
No, I've explained that to you.
And then they're looking for a bailout of what, 35 million?
35 million, yeah.
Come on.
It's a con job. These execs at the top are getting paid too much. €315,000 a year is the price of a house.
Sorry, Dave, go on. I'll let you have your last say there because I have to wrap it up. Go ahead, Dave.
It's obscene. That's what it is, obscene.
Sorry,
No, but it is, and you know, it is true. I mean, think about it. The likes of News Talk or Classic Hits, for example. You know, you succeed on the basis of your own merit and your talent. Because if you don't exist anymore. RTE's has become this bloated whale that's had money injected into it time and time and time again. I mean, I know they say, like, given our yearly GDP, 35 million isn't much. But if you were to say we've got 35 million here to hire psychiatrists for CAMS, for children with mental health disorders, I'm pretty sure that'll go. Yeah, it'll go a long way as opposed to helping, Joe Duffy buy himself a gold-plated toilet seat,
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm at the live line. I'm sitting on my gold-plated toilet seat here live on News Talk.
I know.
Mary, you're in Clontarf. You were sitting in a taxi. What happens? Yeah. Sure.
It's this horrible...
Sure.
This is what's wrong in the entirety of this country.
Sure.
It's this horrible sense of self-entitlement from these executives. That's the problem. And you have it in every department all over this country. And this government are supposed to be in control of this. But yet, should just give them, nobody cares. Whose money is it?
We do care.
Well, here's the thing. People do care now. People probably didn't really care too much up to now or didn't even notice it happening because this happens all of the time. By the way, apart from those 2 years you mentioned, and the reason again I say that was because of COVID. But before COVID came along, RTE were constantly knocking on the door of the government with their cap in their hand looking for money. And the answer is plain for anybody in the radio industry, and we've all obviously talk about it on a regular basis, we're all in the industry. The answer is plain to see. Move out of Montrose, or Donnybrook as people call it. Move out. You don't need it. They will get millions for that land. Move into an industrial estate. If TV3 can do it or Virgin Media can do it, so can they. Sell to FM. They don't need it. It's a pop station. It's not public service. Never was public service. It isn't public service. Sell it. It should be independent radio. And they could also sell the Irish-speaking stations as well as, Derry-Ann rightly pointed out, maybe the communities in those areas would be happy to pay for it. You know, the people who speak fluent Irish.
Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.